Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I am the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Rubberduck in the house. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a great fan of Field McConnell's. He's a great individual, very transparent, just a great individual with a lot of knowledge of what's going on in the world right now. So he's good. He would be a really good person for you guys to listen to. And if you're not following him, check him out. He is over there on X at Rubberduck79, I believe is what it is. You'll hear him today and his journey, his story, what he can tell you, and I think you guys will find that he's a wealth of knowledge, everybody. So as soon as he gets in here, we'll get started. But as you know, I always do my PSA. So welcome, everybody. Yes, so I am the owner and the host. I deviated, so I got a little thrown out there, everybody. But yes, so everybody, there is a rubber duck. There is a duck on the wall there. If you can't raise your hand and ask Rubber Duck a question, please feel free to write it underneath the comments there. Also, to everybody, know myself, Rubber Duck, Alpha Warrior, Captain Kyle. None of us will randomly reach out to you and ask you guys if you're ready for the scare event, talk to you about finances, any of that stuff. If you get something like that saying they're us, please block, report them, let us know so we can make sure they are not here in the channel. Also, too, if any of you come in late to the podcast or you want to share it, we are being listened to in over 100 countries. You can check us out on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Also, to the social medias, everybody, they are all verified. I do put the podcasts on all of them. I recently opened up a channel over there on YouTube, and that is the Revival of America over there. For those of you that do not have any of these other platforms that I am on, we are on YouTube now. It's under, like I said, the Revival of America. So go follow that page as well. All of the shows will be over there. And my social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny_Dreed X, at J Dreed Rumble, at J Dreed Instagram, at J Dreed True Social, the Revival of America right here on Telegram, and then at the official J Dreed over on TikTok. I am trying to put more content over there. But again, that's just that's a little bit of a different platform. So I don't use it all the time. I'm trying to get better with it. But check us out over there, everybody. Also, too, if you have a story or a journey to tell, please reach out to me at the Revival of America at yahoo.com. Let us know your story, your journey. We'll get your voices heard and your story. Because remember, everybody, it's your voices, your stories that are going to help shape this new world that we are walking into as we speak. And then last but not least, if you guys haven't already signed up for the newsletter, it is free. Please do so at therevivalofamerica.com. You will get the weekly show lineup, the guests, the times, and then also to the podcast. The updates of the new podcast are also over there on the website. All right, can you guys hear me? I just got kicked out of my own show. What's up, Rubber Duck? I see you in the house, my friend.
Hello, Jenny.
How are you? Where are you at? You sound far away.
Do I still sound far away now?
Well, maybe it's my volume. Let me turn you up. Hang on.
Because that would suck. This is the only, the only situation I got going on here. I don't have it set up like you, Jenny.
Oh,
And
there you go. You sound better, and I can hear your birds in the background.
yes, well, yes. Just so you know, I'm sitting on my porch. I got my lake with my fountain in the front, and I got 10 quails. I got some canaries, some doves. I got some I got some finches that just had babies. They're noisy, and I got some cockatiels and parakeets. So if you do hear birds in the back, it's real. And sometimes they like to mess with me, and they get louder as I talk. If that happens, don't worry. I'll take care of it.
Well, no, you're good, but yeah, your voice, you've got a great voice. So,
Thank you, honey. So do you.
you sound, I feel like sometimes I sound like a dude.
No, come on now. Come on. Well, your avatar satisfies that.
Uh,
So
so I was just,
I haven't been on Telegram. I'm telling you, I was telling you the other night in the space on X. I haven't been on this thing. When did we? So it was January 2021, right? When we all kind
yeah,
of migrated here. And
yeah.
when did Truth Social come online? Do you know? Because was that in 2022?
Yeah, I think so, because it was like after all of Getter, Parlor, and all that stuff happened, and then Parlor went away, and then Trump did his True Social thing. So yeah, I think it was 2022. But that, a lot of people still aren't over there on True Social, which is surprising to me. But they're
They're
probably all the
not.
haters of
They're
Trump.
they're not there. You're saying?
Yeah, there no, not a lot of people are still over there, and a lot of people are just catching on to the Telegram. And the reason why I like Telegram's platform is because my podcast is about people's voices, right? So they can raise their hand in here, and they can ask the guest their question, or they can write a question on the wall, and then I read it to them. But I want the guests to be able to interact with the, or not the guests, but the audience to interact with the guests, because again, their voices matter, right? So that's why I like this platform. X is the same way, because they have the platform where people can come in and they request a mic, whatever. Rumble and YouTube and all those other people, those guys, the guests can go into the chat, kind of like you used to do with Able Danger, and you can write your questions in there, right? But people want to
Okay.
people want to be heard. So when I'm talking to, and real quickly, everybody, if you don't, like I said, if you don't know who Rubber Duck is, he is a wealth of information. He is a hoot. I absolutely adore him. He's over on X at Rubberduck79. He is in here as well, but again, a lot of people don't come in here for whatever reason. But he go follow him, everybody, because he definitely knows what's going on. He's got got a lot of great information. He doesn't deal with bullshit. He tells you like it is, and if you like it, great. If you don't, you don't, right? And that's my kind of dude.
I'm just here to serve it up. The rest is for everyone else to parcel
Well,
and enjoy.
and that's what I kind of wanted you to kind of talk to the audience today a little bit about you, Rubber Dog, because you are very familiar with Field, and Field knows who you are. You've been very active. Well, you were with his Able Danger days, and you guys have reconnected, which is super cool. But I just you bring a lot of information. You and I are over in a lot of these X spaces together, whether we co-host, speak, or whatever it is. We sit and just listen to the bullshit, right? But you have a lot of phenomenal information, and I, for one, would recommend my audience to go follow you, to because you are one of the ones that are solid, right? You give great information. So can you tell what you can tell, because I know you and I had a little conversation the other day, a little bit about your journey, how you got into it, and kind of where you're at, and just kind of what we are seeing here moving forward as we're kind of ending this quote unquote movie that we're watching and stepping into the new world.
Getting hopefully getting to a climax.
Yeah,
I feel it in
speak
my bones
louder.
too. Wait, let me. It's actually those Apple ear pods, but they're
Oh,
not
they
Apple.
suck.
But they're the wired ones. I hear that these ones are like the jam. So I'm sitting here holding this up. Can you hear me now? Is it
Oh, there you go. You got that radio voice. There we go.
all
Go
right? All
for
right.
it.
So well, it all started out in a small town in southern West Virginia. Well, no, truthfully saying, I'm originally born in southern West Virginia, very southern on the Kentucky border. From there, came up to New York, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, that area in Bergen County, New Jersey. That's like where my formative years were, growing up. And on September 11th, 2001, that morning I was there, and I was at the 26th floor of One Liberty Plaza, and we were evacuated that morning, and I headed to the river. I met my dad. He was over at the World Financial Center working that morning. He was a carpenter, is a carpenter. He's retired now. And he was doing a job at that building that's made of all glass in between the World Financial Center across there.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
got the big gardens and stuff. And I knew we'd meet there. So, and we met, we headed to the river, and that's how we got back. And, they had buses and cabs and shit, on the Jersey side, Guttenberg. Some people got off in Jersey City. And these were, this was a Circle Line boat. Now, this was a boat that goes around Manhattan. It's a tour boat, so they had like, I think four of those, bunch of fishing boats, fishing vessels, and shit like that. And, there was no second plane. We didn't know what happened. The first explosion. We didn't hear a plane going. That one video that exists where it shows like the plane perfectly traveling down the street, to head into Tower One.
Yeah. All
It
bullshit.
may very well have been, but we just heard an explosion, and we'd been there for '98 when they tried to blow it up, from underneath. So we just thought they were like, bombing the subway station, because beneath the towers was, huge subway station, huge complex underneath. In fact, that's how we'd get into work. We'd go into Grand Central Station, and then you'd head down that way. Um, so we know what we saw. We saw the south side of the tower explode southward. Just blew out. And so that's what we're all dealing with and talking about and kind of freaking out about. But we got to the Jersey side. Before any of the buildings fell, we got to the Jersey side, took the buses home, and I got into my house, and all I know is the TV was showing what everyone was kind of talking about when we got off the buses. We had to kind of walk like 3 or 4 blocks, and everyone was talking about planes. And this when we walked into the house, me and my dad, and I had 2 kids in diapers then. My dad, my dad walked in, didn't talk to anybody, went right into his room, and they're all sitting on the TV, hugging us, and all that stuff. And on the television, all the TVs are on, and they're showing planes, going into the, and the feeling that everything real, everything about anything just kind of left your body. But I couldn't show it. I couldn't. Not once did the word say there was no plane come out of my mouth because
Right.
everybody, the house was filled with fucking people, and that's all they're talking about. So for the first time in my life, I experienced, what a panic attack was. I never knew what that was. So that just wasn't in my repertoire. You know what I mean? I'm a Sicilian guy. I'm a blood Wallace. My bloodline goes directly to the Wallace clan. Through Scotland. So we're strong fucking people. And we don't. That's not. And my my dad never came out of that room for that entire night. And to this day, we've never talked about it. To this day, he still believes that that building 7 came down 2 weeks later. Now, let me explain that to you. Now, my dad, the next day, because he was also the one of the fire marshals for Bergen County, New Jersey back then, and he took a battalion back. Because most everyone was taking battalions in to help out and stuff. So the next day he took a battalion back. We didn't see him for 2 weeks after that. So he was, because initially they were trying to rescue people, but I forget how long they just said, that's it, they ain't nobody here. And he came back, and it was just one of those emotional times that, and anybody who was there,
Right.
you remember where you were, what you went through, all that stuff. That's just my story. So that was my first experience with, alternate reality shit, and none of it made sense. I didn't understand how to broach it. I was always a spiritual guy, but never a Bible thumper, anything like that. Never had the right to be because I don't know it that much, that well. So tried everything. You first go to God, and it's not that he wasn't there for me, but we didn't have as good a relationship then as I do now with him, and there wasn't anything there. So that what helps, alcohol, and lots of it, lots of alcohol, and it was a tough time. I had 2 kids in diapers at the time growing up, and we picked up. I ended up losing. My job was down there, so I naturally ended up losing my job. My in-laws lost their job. Everybody lost their job. Friends, clients, all that stuff. So then reality sets in. And for the people that were in the tri-state area that time, it almost was like a miniature COVID lockdown, because we were all kind of stuck with each other. We couldn't go anywhere. They had the tunnels locked down, going in and out of the city, and pop, pop, pop. They had people, we had to go line up in Central Park. Any of you guys that were there that day or went through a bunch of crap, you remember we had to, FEMA had camps in Central Park where we had to line up and fill out vouchers for the rent and blah, 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 all that shit. So we did that for like a month, and then the end of the year, 2001, and like November, December, and even up through the early 2002, we came down and kind of fled. Just came down here to Florida and looked for a place. My company relocated down here, so I was, that's kind of where I was at, and everything. I don't remember much of it. The years, after that, up to like 2010 ish, 2011 ish, was just like one big alcoholic thing. You know what I mean? Because you just want to drown it out. Xanax, took a lot of Xanax there too, because when you wake up and you're in a pool of sweat and you can't walk or think or talk because you're paralyzed, but at the same time you're running a fucking company because you got kids you got to raise and a house and all that baloney. So you kind of just got to strap your bootlegs up and kind of go through it like a zombie. Now I know then what an NPC was, because we were NPCs then, just like zombies walking through after 9/11. So that was a big impact for me. It didn't start me as a truther. It basically just kind of literally punched me in the head that there's definitely, there's not an alternate reality, but there's definitely an alternate reality that they can create on the TV. So fast forward after that, then you come up to 2015. Trump announces 2016, and it was during that time, after that, when I started to realize that the company that I was working with at the time, the company that I had relocated down here, um, I always knew there was something fishy about them. But it wasn't until I got down here and I, started to do a lot of research, just on the company, because I loved what I was doing. It was public relations, marketing, advertising, big time. It was a good, yeah, big company. And it turned out to be a shell company. So, because, it happened, we had to hire somebody to come in and audit the books and blah, blah, blah. So, long story short, I found out that it was a shell company, set up in Delaware. And, I found out, where the money was coming from, because we were bringing in much, 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 much more money than I knew we were taking in realistically. So again, like anything else, you do a little research, you find out a lot, and these people were connected directly, to the KM, the Khazarian part of the mafia, the Jewish mafia that's located up in New York City out of the Jewelry District. And this particular family, they were in charge of those. I don't know how it is up there now with the taxi cabs, and how it's like with Uber or whatnot. But back then, you couldn't have a taxi cab business. You couldn't give somebody a ride for money in New York City unless you had a taxi cab medallion. And the taxi cab medallions, every hood of every car, they had this big gold medallion. And that was like, you can get in this car, you can charge for a ride. That's like their license. And you had to have, between $1 million and $5 million, cash to put up for one of these things. And they own hundreds, maybe thousands of them. So that was their thing. The Khazar Mafia ran the whole networking of taxi cabs throughout New York City. That was one of their gigs up there, as well as the Jewelry District in New York City. So I discovered, who this family was, and I also discovered, what they were into. And once I discovered that I was the one running their front, um, we came to a climax there. And I can't get into too much of that there because some of the parties are still with us. But, that helped me to understand, you know, I grew up just like every other Guinea from up north. You know what I mean? You watch The Godfather, you think it's cool. Wow, Godfather. And you watch the Scorsese movies and whatnot and how they glamorize it, the mafia and all the corruption and stuff by making the
Yep.
movies.
Yep.
And then you start putting that together. You know what I mean? So then you're like, on alert, and then so 2016 becomes 2018, and I'm, scrolling around through, YouTube after Q comes out, and I come across Field McConnell, and and he had just separated from his friend, from the gentleman that he had been with, for a long time, and I believe, Jenny, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't on the best of terms back then.
Yeah. David Hawkins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I never get into it because again, I never knew the whole story. One thing about Field is you don't like to speak anything about him unless you're accurate because he'll come get you. So, and I say that with all the due love and respect. So, but so Q comes along in 2017, and we're all into that. 2018 comes along, and then I end up becoming an able danger agent in Field's chat. He ran this fireside chat, which went up alongside of his video show, his broadcast that he would do, and so basically it was kind of like X Space's work, but really what he used to do is he used to do interviews much like Jenny's doing here now, and he would do different interviews, radio shows. He'd talk about Q posts, and he was also global. He used to get like a good anywhere from 10 to 20, upwards of 50,000 people, watching his show. Sometimes more, when Juan O'Savin used to come on. And that's where Juan O'Savin made his debut, and was in 2018 on a show for Field. And what we used to do in the chats is we would do all the research. So, like, let's say, Juan was his guest. He'd be interviewing him back and forth based on the topic. Because we were all anons. In the chat also. We would either make memes in real time. To support the show and put them out. Or we would just find supporting links and documents. To support whatever the interview was. You know what I mean? So that way the audience could, kind of quote unquote, we would be fact checking in real time and giving supporting information. So I learned a lot more about digging, and I learned a lot about talking to people too, just by listening and watching Field. He had a way of speaking where you had to be. It's kind of like listening to Trump talk. There's kind of like 5 conversation lines going out there at once. And that's communicating in streams of consciousness. Where really you're talking to one person, but you could be communicating with up to 4 people at a time. Trump sometimes does that. That's called the weave. And sometimes you get back to it, and sometimes you don't. And that's one of the beauties of Field doing his live broadcasts is you never knew where it was going to go. And I always thought that was one of the great parts of it. And then they screwed with him, down here in South Florida. They brought him down here, and I remember when they incarcerated him. And here's a guy. How old was he then? I forget. Must have been his upper 70s, right, Jenny?
I think it was maybe later 60s, like 68, 69, I think I want to
60s?
say.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
think
in
that's what
there,
it's.
and he's all alone, and he's got nothing but his Bible, and they let him use his phone, and the guy was, was citing scripture and prayer, for people, and during the lockdowns and stuff like that. So we've all gone through this thing in such different, unique ways. I got involved with this to save children. My wife, for this year it'll be 20 years. She's operated as a director preschool, down here in Lake Worth, and I've seen this stuff up front. I've seen her because I've had to sit next to her, making these calls to CPS, an organization she wants no part of, but bound by law, she has to get in the middle of this stuff, and she has to navigate through it. And she's about as wake as I am. How much she believes, I don't know. It's up to her. But she supports me, loves me. We're married over 30. Just I think this year's 30 years now in September. So
Congratulations.
thank you, honey. So she's my best friend, and she's I'm kind of hard to roll with. Well, I'm kind of you gotta. I'm an acquired taste. I don't
I
I don't
love
I
it
don't
though.
have many friends in my life anymore. Back in the day I was that dude. I was Mr. Popular and had all that friends. Facebook first came out and I was like one of the first to 1,000 friends and stuff. But then, it's like time goes on and you start to realize what's real, what's for sale, what's important, what's not, all the bullshit. And now it's like I have nobody. I have my family here and I have, the folks that I've had the honor and pleasure of coming across and meeting over time. You being one of them. So you keep your circle
Oh, thank
small,
you.
especially
Amen.
on the
And
internet. You got to keep that circle, very small. Q always said, watch who you follow. And where I come in as far as knowledge and stuff is it all stems to me from Q. Like I never ventured way, way, way too far out of the Q drops because that's what in my opinion that's what I took an oath to, and I took an oath, and I did just like my dad did before me, and so I take it very serious, and it's as far as discerning the drops, adding commentary, a little bit of color for people, and as far as decoding and getting into the gematria and stuff like that. That was never my thing. Decoding is easy, once you get the hang of it. But as far as like doing the numbers and stuff, I do know that that's a big part of it. But that's not where I come from. That's not me. I got involved with it with the mission, and when the mission's over, I fully intend that we'll all go back to. It won't be a regular life, but we all will re-enter life, at a certain level of consciousness. Certainly, being a bit smarter, more experienced, and having gone through all of the shitty times over the past 10 years, more or less together, as the masses, I think our relationship to each other in real life, hopefully, will be a lot better. We'll still have these spaces and technology like this, but more or less in a supportive role where we can then, start to build up our real world life. You know what I mean? Like getting back out into nature, back into family. You know what I mean? Sunday dinners,
Yep.
church on Sunday or whatever the fuck day we're supposed to go to church because they fucked with our calendar and all that stuff. So that's where kind of I'm at. I'm really just with everyone else. You know what I mean? I'm not a leader in this movement. I don't call it a movement. It's just, we were all there. We all went through it. We all did our thing. Those of us know who each other are. We're still doing our thing. And when we're going to get a check mark one day that we're going to get our confirmation that publicly that they took down the child trafficking lines. They no longer exist. We don't have to worry about that. They no longer harvest children for adrenochrome and organs. That the human trafficking is over. Once they collapse this currency and bring something else in that's not connected to their triangle, to their eye, something that's a little bit more transparent and pure, whatever that is, I'm all for it. So, but I do think that we are at the end times of this, and it's not end times for us. It's, the end times for them.
Yep.
They're the ones that are
Amen.
going to go away. They're the ones that we're going to wake up one day and they're going to be gone. Q said it's going to happen in a rush when it does. And those of us who've been through it know most of, if not all of it, has already happened. Because why would you give a certain group of people on Earth 10 years advanced knowledge and then have a war? I don't think so. So I've had more than enough confirmations for me. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I don't give resumes out. I just have my Twitter feed and that's it, and I answer questions. I don't shy away from debate, you know what I mean? And it's not a debatable topic, the way it goes. And we have a big problem on X with spaces, with the doomsday black pillars, and there's nothing you can do about them. They're real, they exist. But I firmly believe we're not at a place now at this point where we could just start flipping people and trying to coerce people into believe, because most of the people at this point either they have an agenda or they're part of the willfully stupid, and we do know that a certain amount of them will be left behind. So, but we're still
Yeah.
here trying to gain that low hanging fruit. You know what I mean, Jenny?
Yeah, for sure. And everybody, Rubber Duck really has a lot of great information. I mean, you kind of hear it right here. And we do sit in these spaces, as he mentioned and I mentioned earlier. And Doug, kind of talk a little bit about these X spaces, because there are a bunch of doom and gloom, black pillars, and we're just hearing a lot of bullshit out over there. I mean, some people have some great information, but I mean, we'll kind of sit back and we'll just listen to just some of this shit these people just spew. Why don't you kind of talk a little bit about that for your experience in there, over on X, besides just the whole black pilling and doom and gloom crap.
One of the important things to do, when you put yourself in any type of a social situation, in this case like an X space, what I do is kind of map it out. I That's the first thing I listen for. And doom and gloomers, we put that label on them because it's like the old saying, "Misery loves company." Why would the internet be any different? Why would Twitter be any different? Twitter X. So with that said, you can, the people that we classify as the black pillars, those are people that they, if you listen to them, like if you put both of us in a room, like if you put myself and let's say somebody like MV, who's like currently the most gigantic, well-known black pillar over on Twitter. She's a very, very sweet girl. She has her, but she's just, got caught up in a lot of stuff, and she has a way of thinking, and she's firmly set that we are in the breadth of the new world order, and we're all fucked, and that we're all fooled. Not her, us. So, and I get that. But what happens is, again, misery loves company, and the internet is controlled by algorithms nowadays. So when you get into these spaces, that they kind of start to attract people that think like that and talk like that. But if you put me and MV in a room together, one on one, and just listen, we would sound exactly the same.
Yep.
had we stopped talking in 2017. So in other words, the only thing that separates the doomsday black pillars from people that are more or less, completely awake now and they kind of sound rational because we kind of understand what's going on the television. The only thing that separates that is that we discovered Q and the drops. So we kind of knew what was happening early on. So we weren't wrecked over stuff. We kind of knew up through the pandemic what was really happening. We weren't nervous. We weren't scared. And I think the people that didn't understand or know anything about the drops, I think that kind of pissed them off and got them wrecked a little bit. So we were called shills early on. Or if you remember, through 2017 up through 2022, we were on TV not we, but, they were talking about Q and QAnon all the time on the television, that we're a bunch of hacks and a bunch of weirdos and stuff. And I'm sitting here, on my back porch, poor as shit. And I'm like, grifter, like, what are these people talking about? And it's they don't understand we were all just regular people from regular walks of life, and just like most people, we had a safe haven to bitch on the internet, so we did, which was the chans. Those were the boards where the Q team would go and and lay the drops down there, and we were never given any like secret information. We were given drops, which is a drop is really just data. It's nothing unless somebody makes something of the data. That's like if somebody drops a big bowl of clay in front of you, it's nothing but clay. You could make it into a bowl, you can do something with it, but it's nothing unless somebody's there to work with it, and figure it out. And that's all we did. And, we knew what was happening back then. And we know that because over the past year and a half, the TV has been confirming everything we researched and aggregated back then. So that's all the confirmation we need. So and it's getting to the point where there's more of us than there are people that are still completely asleep. So and I think that'll help us as we go down the track here.
Well, and Q, and it's like I always tell my audience too, or just people in general, when you're talking about Q, it's not only like what Rubber Duck was saying, drops and it's a movement or whatever you want to call it. It's also made you become a self thinker to do the research, right? This whole movement has made us all become self thinkers, researchers, and kind of put this puzzle together. Because I don't know if you guys are paying attention, and I'm sure you are, Rubber Duck. I know you are, but we are seeing the Q movement right now fall into place like we've been wanting it to for so long. We thought it was going to happen last year, the year before, but we are seeing it happen under our noses right now. So, and it's like Rubber Duck says, there's so many confirmations out there. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed the picture of Donald Trump and his two sons, Eric and Junior, but there they are on each side of him. And what do you have at the top of the picture? A big old Q. Aren't you the one that posted that? Didn't you
Yes.
post that, Rubber Duck? Okay.
And that was the account Cag Drago. He actually painted that, and he's a friend of mine. He's been a friend since since I guess 2020, 2021, and he made that painting because he's an artist. He's a J6er. He was at J6. I don't know if he was one of the ones that was arrested, but I don't know his complete story that way. But he made that painting. He went to a rally. He got to meet Trump because he had the painting, which was great. And he had a picture taken with Trump, and he took the painting and then made it into a meme, and then put it on Truth Social, with the big Q there as him being Q plus. And sure enough, Trump, reposted that. Trump reposted a bunch of stuff from a bunch of us, but that painting in particular. And now that very painting itself sits, and I believe Dan Scavino, or not Dan Scavino, somebody on that in that circle, posted a picture of it because now that painting is hanging at Trump National in Los Angeles, of all places, where everybody could see it. So, we've kind of crossed the streams already. Some people see it and understand it. Some people see it and still think it's too crazy. Why would a bunch of random people, like a guy who calls himself Rubber Duck? But by the way, my name is Mike, and I'm a. By the way, full disclosure, I'm a realtor, and down here in South Florida, and I have sold homes to some of my and on friends. So I'm like just a totally a real dude. I don't charge to do this. Like I said, I had a wonderful job and career in aerospace and defense, with military contracts before the COVID. But that ended because they never hired me back, because I'm 50. When you turn 50 in that industry, on the side of it that I was on, you're too young, and that's what I learned. So that didn't happen. So that's why it kind of went together with what I was doing because I needed more time to do what I was doing. Because I could never charge for what I was. And I've tried everything. I flipped the subscribe button up for a day because I felt guilty. I put the tips thing up for a day and I felt guilty. And not because I care about what people do. It's because I feel that I made a huge sacrifice for this. And to me, it would be like, if someone's going to make a big sacrifice in their life, to be a minister or a preacher or something, they're not going to turn around and ask for money for it. Because if I was going to do that, then I would just be doing this full time. And then I would charge for it, because I'd have to charge for my time. Otherwise, I'd be eating peanut butter and crackers living in a tent somewhere. But since that's not the case, I made a sacrifice and took a job as a realtor so that I could do what I need to do here and kind of still make enough money to pay the bills here, until we do get to a point where I could do something else, go back into something else full time, if we're even going to need to. Like Field McConnell, one of the last things before they messed with his life, one of the last things Field wanted to do was he wanted to build a ranch. I believe it was in Texas, for a children's ranch, for children in all different types of personal situations, and have it be like a farm and stuff like that. And that's where I see myself like that. Maybe somewhere down here in Florida, get a farm with some animals and stuff, and bring some kids by like a petting zoo or something like that. I think that's kind of the stuff that we're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? I think that this whole 9 to 5 thing, whether or not it comes to pass in my lifetime, at least if people understand what their value is, if you value yourself, what you do, you're not going to take any shit, because you're not going to let people take away from you something that you've taken and sacrificed your time to hone in and make perfect, in your own way. So whenever we do jump back into real life, whatever that's going to look like, I fully don't help. I fully pray that we're still not going to be chasing shekels, because I don't like anything about that. I try to stay as poor as I can without having to chase money anymore. And I've had it. We've all had money. You know what I mean? I don't want to associate it with it anymore. I just want enough to live, do what I got to do, and that's it. I don't. How do you feel about that?
No, I agree with you right there. So many of us do chase that money, right? Because I mean, people live paycheck to paycheck, and that's not how it's meant to be. They bust their ass to get a paycheck to have to just, it's gone in a day, right? So,
But I will tell
no,
you this, living paycheck to paycheck after you've done it for like 10, 15 years, it does become an art. I have perfected the art of living
true.
paycheck to paycheck. And I'll tell you, once you take the fear out of it, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like it's the hustle. We live in such different times now. When I grew up, and when people my age and younger, maybe you too, Jenny, our parents wanted to throw us out of the house and go to college. You're 18. I'm done
Yeah.
raising you. Go out and spread your wings. Go to college, get an education, and make something of yourself. But people forget that the way it was supposed to be is you're a family and you have a family business, and that's what you're supposed to do. You find a family business, whatever it is, and you do something together, and you raise the children through the family and the family business. Not for nothing. That's all our enemy ever done. You know what I mean? They keep everything in the family. They also they're also inbreds, so they literally keep everything in their family. But what I'm saying is when we talk about family, I think that's where I think that's where this whole thing is going to come from. It's going to come from family, and we're going to come back to it because no one's going to be able to trust anybody except for very very close friends. And I think that with all of the exposure in colleges, higher learning, quote unquote, education, things like that, Board of Education being tossed out the window, we're going to see a lot of homeschooling, I think. And I think when you start to see a lot more homeschooling, you won't see people wanting to struggle, people that are going to be that interested anymore in struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, or chasing that money, right? Because they might just say, you know what, fuck it, I could get myself a little piece of land, gonna go grab some chickens, maybe a goat, and fuck everything. You know what I mean? I'll build myself a life. I'll teach my kids what I want, and maybe we'll buy a couple of more plots. If we make a couple of bucks, and then all of a sudden, everyone is independent. And as Field always used to teach me, if we do live to see an inversion of wealth, which some people call it Nasara Jasara. Some people hate people that say Nasara Jasara, and to them I say, Nasara, Nasara, Nasara. But I mean, who gives a shit? Of course, you can't have the 1% of the people, the target of a sting operation, a successful one, and have all these plane loads of gold, all of this liquid gold that we're tapping into, all of these people that purchase all of this land on the coasts of our country, the top property, throughout our land. And these people are basically, the ones that committed serious seditious treason and the ones that mess with children. Those are the two groups of people that will be eliminated from Earth, if not already. When they're gone and the others are in jail, and when we learn about it, whenever that is, all that shit's going to be available now. And that's got to go somewhere, and they can't get it back into the economy unless we do something with it. So we'll see what happens. But I just hope we're in the right, frame of mind to do that, because we're still divided now, certainly on
Oh
the
yeah.
internet.
So let's talk about that real quickly, Rubber Duck, and then we got some people that want to ask you some questions. But so let's talk about that, the divide, right? We're seeing a lot of that over there in X. We've seen it here in Telegram, a couple years ago. But I really think, in a lot of these chats that I sit in, and you can probably say the same thing. I feel like X is really far behind the 8 ball from where we've been, right? We've been down these rabbit holes. We talked a lot about it, but now we're seeing a lot of this infiltration happening within, and we've seen it. We already saw it here in Telegram. Whether it be bots, whether it be paid operatives being put into these chat rooms and to cause disruption. Right. Um,
I haven't heard anything here, Jenny. You run a very, very, awesome room. I mean, I haven't heard any disruptions or anything yet.
well, because the way I do it is it kind of like over to X. Some people when they open these chats, they just open up everybody's mic. If somebody has a question, I'll unmute their mic. But I don't.
Ah,
I
very
don't.
smart. See, then you don't
Yeah.
have to deal with it. Excellent. See, that's what I try
Yeah.
to do the few times I do spaces over there. When you and I do it, that's kind of the way we try to do it. It never ends up that way, but I get it.
Yeah.
Hey,
Because you
Jenny.
get those. Hey,
Jenny.
Jersey.
Hi-
Yes.
I'm so sorry, excuse me, but Duck, it's really hard to hear you. I cannot hear
All
you.
right. How about now?
Oh,
That's
much
much
better.
better.
Sorry, the thing fell out of my ear, so it was like under my leg. Sorry about
Uh,
that. Oy vey. Sorry.
yeah, but so I mean, we're seeing a lot of that. And even Jersey Girl can tell you because she's in a lot of the spaces with us as well. But we've seen that, and talk a little bit about that infiltration for because I tell my audience all the time: be careful who you follow, what you're listening to, and what just that mind is a powerful thing. Your brain, right? So
More importantly, be careful who you engage with. Like
yes, for sure.
like personally for me, I love engaging those people. But that's me, you know what I mean? And that usually gets me ejected and banned from spaces on X. But listen, because like I said, at this point, if you're mission focused and if the mission is to aggregate information in the way of truth, where you give sauce with it, where people can go and learn from themselves. So if that's what you're doing, and if that's your lane, and if that's your thing, and if you're trying to attract folks that have a little bit of willful curiosity, just enough to dig a little bit about what you're putting out there, then they'll go do it on their own, and they'll do the same thing I'm doing. They'll start small, they'll grow big because everybody wants good information. So if you're putting out good information, you know what I mean, people will come because everybody wants to come to good information that's sorted out, that has a little bit of commentary, has links, where people could basically feel comfortable, and because we don't want people to trust us, we want people to trust, the information we put out, because if you can't back it up, then, what is it worth, right? So when you come across people, even in real life and stuff, your first instinct is you're going to want to debate them, because your first thing, like my antlers go up, my antenna goes up because I automatically think they're up to something. Because you know
Right.
what, they haven't earned the right for me to think otherwise, especially on the internet, because you got to be careful. You know, it's like you could trust but verify in real life, but for me on the internet, I verify, then I'll trust, and it's always been that way for me. You know, I don't follow more. I've never followed more than 75, 80 people on any platform that I've been on because I can't keep track of them. I don't do this like everyone else does. You know, Q said watch who you follow for a very specific reason. You know, and they told us because they could usurp your followers just by following you. They could usurp your followers. They could make you targets for algorithm attacks, which means they pay attention to what you say in spaces. They use that against you. You know, they track every keystroke that you do. You know, so I type my posts a certain way. You know, I use alternate letters, which have, that they look like the letters that you think you're seeing, but they're not, but you can't tell because that's the way I type it, and if you do a little research, you'll find letters that look exactly like others. But again, especially when you're saying things like Israel, when you put it in print, you're all of a sudden, you're up for the algorithms. And I try to stay out of that, and Q taught us a lot about that too. That's why I don't have any. You won't find another account on X that's the Rubberduck or has my avatar or even anything like my handle or name. It's not because I did anything. It's because if you listen to me talk, if you listen to Jenny talk, we don't sound like everybody. Because we're real people putting out real information. You know what I mean? And if we're real and authentic, and you do a couple of things to kind of protect yourself from the algorithms, then you'll make a successful campaign for yourself. So anyway, so that's what I'm in this for. So when I hear people come out and say, Q is a LARP or Q is fake, Q is a CIA op or Q is a psyop and da 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 da. At this point, I don't need to engage that. So there's two things I can do. Either I could leave the room and just let them all marinate in the misery of we're fucked, it's the NWO, and Trump is the Antichrist. And I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to associate with anybody who talks and thinks and wants to associate like that with people like that because we're not there anymore. There's enough on the television, there's enough on the internet, there's enough people like me, enough people like Jenny who have all of the research and all of the digs and all of the proofs. We've done all that. I've done all the work. You know what I mean? I put enough work into this where it's like a double doctorate. Okay, and I'll print myself a certificate. I'll put it up against the wall of anyone else that's got these expensive college degrees, and we'll see who knows more. They might make more money than me, but we'll see who knows more about what their certificates say. Because that's all I'm in this for. And when I'm done with this thing, then that's it. I'll segue into something else, and I won't be this dude, this black duck on the internet anymore because it won't need me. I'm not going to do recipes or talk, anything like that. You know what I mean? None of us will. Hopefully we'll meet, we'll get to hang out. You know what I mean? And some of us will become mentors, and we'll get to, help youngsters, understand how important family is, how important God is, focus, critical thinking, discernment. This is how the world works. This is how a household works. This is how to be a dad. This is how to be a friend. This is how to be a brother, sister, stuff like that. My wife would be perfect teaching other folks, how to be a good friend and how to be a good wife when the time comes. We have to desexualize, society. We need to purify ourselves. We got way ahead of ourselves. Make no mistake, we had no control. We understand who it was. They control the porn. They control the money. They control, all of it. I get it. We never had a chance. We were born into it. I get it. But now we know. So it's different. We can't walk through like these fakers that just kind of, they kind of sleepwalk through life. You can't willingly, Q always said that too. Willingly, knowingly is very different from not knowing, right? Because
Yep.
the choice to know is always yours. So once you know, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't fake it anymore. It becomes more difficult. So,
Right. I love that, rubber duck. I love it. I mean, you're just solid. You're legit, and you're just transparent, straightforward. And I love that about you. So everybody, if you're not following Rubber Duck, go check him out over on X at the is it at the Rubber Duck 79 or at Rubber Duck 79?
At the Rubber Duck 79.
All right, he's cool. He always
I do have an account here. I don't know if it leads to my X space because, again, I didn't really use it much. You know, you'll see some early posts from when Telegram first opened. That's the only thing that's in my account. But other than that, like Jenny said, you know, I'm over on X. My DMs are always open. I love replying to people. I answer questions. You know, I'm just here to help. If you have
yeah
someone
he
giving you a problem and you're on my team, then we'll go wreck some shit together. You know what I mean? I'll stand in the trenches with you.
and he's gonna be over here on the Revival of America, guys. I'm gonna drag him over here as much as he allows me to. So I'm super excited about that. Where he's got I'm not gonna tie him to it just yet, but yeah, he's gonna be coming over here and being a guest with us as well. So
Yeah,
okay, everybody. So
this
if
is
you
fun.
and then the other one that I created, Rubber Duck, is it's 5 o'clock somewhere with the Revival of America podcast. That's basically more of the audience to get to know us on a more personal level, because people want to know that we're real too, and we're just like them. We're
So is this what a podcast is? Is this a
what do you
podcast
mean?
like
Yeah.
what we're doing here? This is a podcast.
Yeah, this is a podcast. So this
Awesome.
this this podcast, the Revival of America podcast, is about people's voices, journeys, and that kind of thing. And then the audience can interact with you and ask you questions, or if they have a
What's
concern,
the
they
thing that you do on the Rumble? You know, because you have that Rumble station, right?
so
Don't you have a
yes,
Rumble channel?
yeah.
Is that a live stream?
So it's going to be, because I'm in the process of moving right now. So once my new studio is up and going, I'm going to be bringing video now to the podcast. So the
Gotcha.
Rumble, we will start doing live videos, and that's where it's 5 o'clock somewhere with the Revival America is going to do. But what I do here right now is I upload this podcast that we're doing right here on over to Rumble and all my other places that I'm being listened to on the podcast host, right? So yeah, I mean, we're being listened to in over 100 countries, Rubber Duck. So your message is going to get out. So I'm glad you're going to come over here and talk to the audience a little bit more, because you're a wealth of knowledge. I don't care what you say. You are a leader in this movement. So zip it.
Well, listen, I'm just here for the hors d'oeuvres, okay? Just don't call me late for dessert. So,
Right.
wow, this is awesome. So what's next? I see
All right.
Jersey Girl here.
Yeah, we're gonna call in some hands. So I've got a few mics open to everybody. So if you have a question for Rubber Duck, please feel free to raise your hand or write it underneath his little duck on the wall. We typically, how much time do you have? You got about another 45 minutes to give. I typically do 90 minutes or an hour. What
Hold
do you
on.
want?
Let me hold on though. I got 19% left on my phone, and
Equally.
at about 4:30 or between 4 and 4:30, I'm gonna have to go pick up Mrs. Duck.
Okay.
But
So
because we're sharing one car this week. But
okay.
I could still use the phone with it, and when I get into the car, if need be, I could just plug you guys into the speaker. So yeah,
Yeah,
this has
well,
been
we
cool.
we yeah, we'll go. I'll check in with you. So say it's quarter to one my time, or 10 to 1. So I'll
Oh,
check
where are
in with
you
you.
at? What part of the country are you at, hon?
You don't know. I'm in
No.
Arizona.
What part of Arizona? Not
Um,
what city, but like where? Like western side, north, south, east, west, middle.
I'm Phoenix.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm literally like 10 minutes from
Wow.
Scottsdale.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm you're 3 hours ahead of me, my friend.
All right, so let's do
Let's do some
these.
questions.
Yeah,
All right, let's go. All right, Blue, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rubber Duck your question.
I'm just gonna mute while they talk.
Thanks, Jenny.
Of course.
Listen, I've listened to you before a lot, Doc on X. I think your intel is amazing. I like how you don't back down from a debate and slash fight sometimes. People just push the duck the wrong way. So, right, honestly, I just want to thank you for your time, your consideration, and give you a little smile to leave today because of coming over here to Janie. We appreciate you coming. So here's 25 seconds of thanking you coming over. Just give me.
Wow. Boom, 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 boom. guys should have seen me when I was a kid watching this movie Convoy, man. This is awesome.
Yeah,
That's what he's
baby.
playing. That's what he's playing in the background. He's
Yes.
playing
I
Convoy.
just want you to know that we appreciate you, and it don't matter where you go because the convoy's behind you, Rubber Duck.
You
We
got it, brother.
got your
We got
back.
ourselves a convoy. So we'll catch you on the flippity flip, brother. I appreciate that. You
Thank
certainly
you,
put a
Blue.
smile on my face.
Thank you, Blue. All right. Hermano.
I want everyone else to have a question with you because I've already heard you a lot, so I want the opportunity to go to the new people.
Thank you, Blue. All right, Hermano, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rubberduck your question.
Hello, Bella. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. By the way, while I'm here and Blue was just ahead of me, Blue, let bygones be bygones, and let's talk, okay? Because now the action is coming. That being said, Rubber Duck, what the fuck?
Hermano.
Hey, you Jersey Wop, how come it took so long for you to come here?
Well, I was here, but you know, I have really severe adult ADD, so I could only handle one platform at a time. And honestly, the battle, and Jenny will agree, the real battle is on Twitter, on X. That's where the battle for the minds and souls were fought and won. So I felt if I'm going to give it all, it's best that I go it there. But I got to tell you, Jenny laid it straight to me and laid it out, and I can't say no to her. She, number one, she's brilliant. She's got an awesome voice, and you know her personality is more closely aligned to mine. Like we kind of just speak how it is, and we try not to fuck with anybody. But if we do, you know, what are you gonna do, right? If you ruffle feathers, that's kind of the way we roll. You
We
know,
just don't care.
we just have no fucks to give. I don't have any fucks to give anymore. Life's too short, you know, to care about feelings. And as long as you're not a mean person out there, you know, looking to hurt people, you know, I just say be yourself and have fun doing it.
Amen.
Well, you could ask Jenny. You know, she knows how I roll. And any friend of Phil McConnell's and a friend of Jenny's is a friend of mine, especially also a friend of Blue's.
Well, God
That
bless
being
you.
said, yeah, buddy, listen, oh, I could go forever. I'm so glad that you're here. By the way, tell that other Jersey Wop B, my buddy Simon, that I said hi and to get off his ass. That being said, have you seen lately? There's been a huge drop. Hold on, let me get to my computer since I've been listening to you. There was a drop on Scotty Mars about 9/11, and let me just pick it up. And there's a couple of huge names here. Yeah, Alan Howell Parrott, Congressman Weldon, and Brian S. Ettinger, Biden's attorney. Did you maybe have a chance to see that?
Yes, you're talking about Alan Perot, the whistleblower.
Parrot, excuse me. I call him Parrot because he's the Birdman, right?
Yes, he's the Birdman. He's the guy that he I don't know, Jenny. Do people here know? Because I don't know how the information goes here. But when I say something like, you know, Biden set up SEAL Team 6, people here know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so because it's
Okay.
been talked about a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Biden sold the helicopter coordinates to SEAL Team 6. You know, that when they all, there's one dude, the dude with the curl on the front of his hair, that curled, what was his name, Jenny? Golly, I forget. But he was he said, you know,
Aaron,
TikTok do your thing. That's it.
Aaron,
Okay. So
Aaron
there's one
Vaughn
dude.
or something like that, right?
Yeah, Aaron Bond. So he's
Yeah.
the dude that survived or wasn't in the helicopter at the time. I'm not very certain of that part of the story, but you know, when we early on when we were told we have it all, we knew that was part of it, and that was it. Biden sold the coordinates for that attack, and basically they made it so they put that helicopter in a kill box, similar to what they did at an intersection. Oh, it was hovering over an intersection. So it was similar to what they did to JFK when they put him in a box at Dealey Plaza, you know, where they knew going in, no matter what, he would never escape. And that's what they did to SEAL Team 6 because they could never escape because there was no bin Laden mission. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Keep going, brother. Keep going.
That's the last I'd heard of him. And now I understand he's back in the news now, but he's not talking about Biden. He's talking about somebody else. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, the thing is during that conversation and on that phone call, now they're dropping names, and then at the same time they're tying everything together.
Well, when you start hearing people's names on the internet, that's one thing. If any of that starts coming onto the television, then you'll know that declassification or declass is right around the corner. That's what we're all waiting on. I mean, listen. To the people who have the best knowledge from research, whatever you want to call it, the best researching skills, even at that, it doesn't matter what we discover and research to be fact. If the TV doesn't confirm what we aggregate, then it doesn't matter. It's like that old saying, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it really happen? It's the same thing here. If the TV does not broadcast, an arrest or an unsealing of indictments, things like that, then I believe that if that doesn't happen organically, I think that will force upon us whatever black swan precipice event that they have. And I think that's where our part of the mission came in. They said, all right, guys, Anons, go do your thing. Aggregate your shit. You have X amount of time. And if you think about it, this whole thing has gone on for what, almost 10 years now. So it's like the same arc as a television show on TV, like as a sitcom or as a drama. And they have all the characters in it. Some of the characters have come and gone and come back as somebody else. But I think we're at the part of it now where the television has its own timeline, and it was never the same as the Q timeline or regular people like us, our timeline. We just live our life, come home, watch the TV, news, spend time with family, eat, go to bed, go to work. So we don't know, but not regular people, including myself, until I gave up a lot of my time to do this research. We don't have time to get into all this shit. You know what I mean? How we're enslaved and all that. So that's why only a certain portion of us were able to do it. We're at the right place at the right time. But as we come to this place where we start to see names dropped, of course, Anons have been dropping names all the time. That's why we've gotten banned and purged. But when you start seeing that happen without banning, without purging, without censorship, then it's going to have to percolate its way up to the television. Because the television, whether people like it or not, you could say what we want about Twitter, the internet, and the Everything app, and all of that. The television is still the largest single mass weapon on Earth, if to influence the world. Because that's what it's done. Everything that we're going through now, the TV is either the cause or the cover. You know what I mean? So now that same weapon is going to have, like everything else, Jenny will say, it has to be turned back on them. So the weapon they use to enslave us, to create this simulation, the television broadcast, together with the removal of the Smith-Mundt Act, which protected us from propaganda being broadcast on us inside U.S. borders, you know, I think the Q team took advantage of that to create this show, this movie, this huge Hollywood production that we're watching on the television nowadays. So, but no matter what I say, no matter what anybody says, it doesn't matter how good it sounds. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Is if the TV doesn't start picking up and delivering on information that we put out there, at least a portion of it, which they have, it's not going to happen. So it's not that things are happening too slow for me. I gave up on timelines and dates and all that stuff. I was never a predictor of dates, and I was never good with the gematria numbers and stuff like that. So I listen to people that predict dates and stuff, but they never come true. It doesn't mean I don't listen to them anymore. It just means that I listen to them and I take out whatever dates that they put in, because the information sometimes is still good. Just remove any expectations from any of this and just pay attention.
Amen.
And you'll get there. And once you get there, then you just kind of go along. You live your life with one eye on what's going on and the other eye on what's really going on. And then, when the truth starts coming out, believe me, we'll all sit there like we did when COVID started, and we'll be planted in front of the TV, watching Trump deliver remarks literally to Earth. We'll see it again, but I don't think it'll be to lock us down. I really think it'll be to stop the Earth and tell everybody what happened.
Amen to that. Did that answer your question, Hermano, or did you have another one? You good?
I'm good. We'll get other people a chance, but brother, really appreciate what you're doing, and just what, rock and roll. And to be honest with you, and I've had this vision, and it's my vision is it's showtime. Anyways, thank you, Jenny.
Amen.
I think you're right. Amen.
Thank you, Hermano. And remember, everybody, dates are always an epic fail. I learned that the hard way in the beginning of my journey here. So dates are an epic fail. Don't set your expectations too high, because they always seem to get taken down. So just remember that, everybody. Dates are an epic fail. Okay, Miss Jersey Girl, go ahead.
Hey, Jenny. Hey, Duck.
How you feeling, sweetheart?
About time you came over to Twitter, and your sound still sucks. But
Wait, no, it fell again.
oh my
No,
God, I
I
don't know
tell
where
you what
you
I'm
are.
using. No, because I have one little wired thing in my ear, and the other one where the microphone is on. Listen, I'm like 6'2", 260 pounds. I got hands like a polar bear paw, and I got this little fucking microphone in my hand, and I'm speaking directly into it. And when I go grab a water, I have to drop it to pick up the water, and sometimes it stays dropped, and it goes down near my leg. So I
Do
won't
we
do
have
that
to
again. I'm sorry.
get a fund for you to get it? No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't need a fun. I just need smaller hands.
Okay, we won't call you sausage fingers, but
Said nobody ever, right? Said, give me
Oh
smaller
my
hands. Said
gosh.
nobody ever.
Hey, so all right, I was thinking about the whole Q thing, and we are watching. Well, first of all, you're an OG, and it's really important for the OGs to help people along, because I mean, no matter how far back you go, but one of the original ones. And this is why, okay, I have to sit down for a minute. um, no one ever talks about the reason for Q. And the reason for Q was to go around mainstream media who are lying, and going straight to the people. Could you explain that a little better?
Well, to take it a step further, if you think about it, I mean, I'll just say it the way for me. Our whole lives were spent in front of the TV. Like I said, I was born in the early '70s, and back then we went to kindergarten half a day, and my mom had a job. You know what I mean? And she worked, so I would come home, and I'd when the mornings I would sit in front of the TV. And then when I had school in the mornings, I would come home in the afternoon because my dad was still at work. So that's the way it worked. And back then, that wasn't looked at a bad way of parenting. My mom came home, dinner was ready, we all ate together. My younger brother, as a family, 5 o'clock every night, 6 o'clock news was on. Dad was a fire chief, blah blah blah. Mom, so it's like we thought we had the all American family, and it certainly felt that way. But really, if you think about it, then as you get older, you go to school, even at a younger age, and what are you talking about? You're talking about the cartoons you watched over the weekend, that, and you get a little older. You're talking about what? You're talking about the music videos that are just coming out, and then you get a little older and you meet someone. What do? You go see a movie together. It's like the flat black screens have been around us, our whole life. And we think that they've just been like benign little devices, that we flicker on and we turn the power on, when we want to watch something, entertainment, and then so we went from living our lives, which, part of it, you're entitled to rest, you sit, you watch TV, so the next generation, which was my generation, you know, we tried to be a little bit strict, don't sit so close to the TV, or, 1 hour only, you can't, so we tried to do restrictions because we're always trying not to do what our parents did. But again, my wife had to go to work, you know what I mean, at an early age. And I certainly did too. All normal people did, because they had to have both people. It wasn't enough being able to tax the man. They created the women's movement to get the women out of the house so that they can tax them, and at the same time destroy the nuclear family, which is kind of what America was built on. Mama, papa, brother, sister, and a pet dog. That was the vision. But it wasn't our vision. That's what we thought was the American dream. We didn't know that the only way to experience the American dream was to be asleep. They made up that term. And that's all part of the narrative. So when you start to think about it, just if you start to envision any time in your life that you've spent in front of a flat black screen, whether it's been a phone, a computer screen, a TV screen, whatever it is, whatever size, if you've been focusing your attention, whether it's for work or not, on a screen, you're interfacing with a narrative that you have no control over. You don't know how it was designed, and you don't know how it works. And that's part of the reason why we don't really even truly understand how our own mind and brain functions. You know what I mean? Because we're limited to the information that these same people who operate this broadcast, they also wrote the books that taught us in schools. They also wrote all the scripts, for all those cartoons we were watching as young children. They wrote the scripts to the movies and documentaries that we watched and learned from. They wrote all the songs, that kind of create the backdrop for our lives. What's your wedding song? Don't say it, but everybody now, whoever's married, you guys all thought of your wedding song. That's narrative. You know what I mean? That is their world that is now inserted into our world, and we use it as a marker, as a timeline. What does that mean to us? It means nothing. But to them, it means everything, because they lead an inverted world as we do. Most of us are God-fearing or just regular, normal people. The people on the other side that operate the flat black screens, behind the scenes, they too, they have families, they have children, same thing as we do. But behind closed doors, aside from when you may see them here and there passing from them on the street, not knowing them from Adam, they live a completely different life that we do. Access to completely different information than we do. Most of the time, opposite. Most of the time, really fucking weird and really evil. And it goes to show that the truth is there's a lot of people in this world, much more than we thought, that believe and worship Satan. Never close to or more than as much as, believe in a creator, God, a godly, being. So it's different. But the people on that side, although there's not many of them, there's just enough of them to operate this apparatus, which is this narrative. Some people say they've had it for decades or hundreds of years. Some say thousands of years, going back to hieroglyphics. Some of that was narrative, propaganda. In other words, one message unified. They never cared how the message got out to us. We just needed to be engulfed in that message. Whether it's building our life around holidays that they created and made up, or whether it's spending our lives saving up for a vacation that we're allowed to take a week away from the life of 9 to 5 that they created. We didn't create that. We didn't come out of the womb saying, 9 to 5 job, you get a shiny watch at the end when you retire, and you go sit on a condo, down in South Florida somewhere with a bunch of other old people that are about to die. That wasn't supposed to be it, because when you read the Bible, no, shit, that ain't like that. We win. So that's kind of the stuff that I discovered. So I don't see the TV, and I was a music file. I can sit here and debate anyone about anything regarding, I played the saxophone at a very high level when I was younger, classical music, dance, jazz, you know what I mean? In the early 90s, I was actually for 2 years rock and roll band manager, believe it or not, up in North Jersey. So I've been in that scene. I dig it. I know what it is. You know what I mean? We've all lived it. But I never lived it on that side where it became, when you go home from it, it's in your life. When I came home, it's like, ugh, you leave the bar scene behind, you get up, You go to work, it's normal. You go to church on Sunday, whatever. You spend time with your kids during the week, whatever, and you try to get everything back to normal. These people, it's not like that. For them, it's 24 hours, 24/7. They don't believe in what we believe. They have more power, wealth, and information than we do because they were born into it. We weren't. Whatever money or wealth or success that people like us earn, we earn it ourselves, and it's always up to a certain level. And they'll never let you bust through that level above that unless you kiss the ring. I have a younger brother who's he's recently retired, and he's not even 50 yet, but very, very one of the top. If I told you his name, you'd know him. But one of the top agents in the NFL in the 90s, in 2000s, especially the middle 2000s. He represented big guys like Terrell Owens when he was going through trouble. People like that. So I won't give you many names with that. But here's a guy, my brother, and he kissed the ring. You know what I mean? So I got to see what happened to him. And he came to me after calling me a conspiracy theorist and blah, 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 this and that. And I had to explain to him what the whole narrative, what the fuck do you mean a narrative? And I said, well, you think it's an accident that Jay-Z has taken over the NFL as an entertainment project? Do you think it's any mistake that, all of the major sports for how many years now have become, categorized as entertainment? None of it's real. Everything is predetermined, scripted, much like these past 10 years of television are no different. They've been scripted. What we're telling you is that for the first time in history, there is a group of people who've been read into that script. And so through the years of the end of 2017, from October 2017 through at least February of 2020, no, I would say February of 2021, Anons who were there from the beginning, we were read into, what was really going on in the world that the narrative on the television wasn't talking about. And that's why they called us conspiracy theorists, because nobody else was seeing it on TV. So, of course, what the fuck were they going to believe us? So we had to sit there. No, you don't understand. You have to click this link. You got to click the link and you got to read the meme. No, it's supposed to read. So we went through it all in the beginning. You know what I mean? But it started to catch on, and don't forget, we had Trump as at least the public leader figurehead of this thing. You know what I mean? And we've had direct access to him. He's communicated many times, often every time he speaks publicly. He communicates directly with people like me and other people that, you know what I mean? And other people that, quote unquote, have learned the comms, and
Yeah, he's
and
very cryptic. He's very cryptic.
yeah, and it's not, believe me, he knows exactly what he's talking about, because at the same time he's communicating to you, he's
Yep.
saying something different to me, and he's saying something different to his enemies out there. And that's the way he communicates. So that's like the overall theory of how the narrative came to play, and the narrative is anything that's connected to the broadcast message, whether it's in TV, whether it's in magazine, print, anything that's giving you information to consume and absorb. We don't control that. And what happens is when you go generation after generation, and all of the people are getting the same information from this same cabal group of people, that deceive us into doing things that they do, but they call it learning for us. And they use different words and different customs that we follow and practice so as not to expose the actual real deeds and the meanings of what these things that we're, mindlessly doing, And
Correct.
if you do a little bit of research on Easter and Christmas, I mean, they've messed up the dates, they've messed up the meanings, and yet we still just blindly walk around and do it because we don't want to piss off Aunt Connie, who's made a big souffle for the holiday. And
Those
I
are
get it, but that's where we're at right now.
those are all ritual dates too, everybody. So like Christmas, they just have turned everything backwards. We're in an upside down world,
And
everybody.
the average normal person, Jenny, says this. The average normal person will say, yes, I get it. It's all evil. But that's not what we're doing. We're getting together and we're going to have the souffle and we're going to open gifts. And how do you battle that? Because
Exactly.
that's rational. That's common sense. And you can't argue with that. So the next step to that argument is what? Well, then you sound like the church lady. You're worshiping Satan. And it's like, And then that's when they turn around and say, "You're fucking crazy." So it's a fine line that we walk where, we're crazy or we're genius. So for people like me, I have to try to find my way in the middle, because when I communicate, I mean something totally different than what these people have been watching and listening to.
We're going
And
to be genius here really soon.
yeah, exactly. They're all going to be geniuses, because
Yep.
hopefully everybody will get there.
So can I say one last thing? So a headline would be the United States military had to reach out to the people and go around mainstream media to reach the people. That's a really long headline, but that's
That's what
what
happened.
they did. It was amazing. It's going to be the most amazing story when it all comes out.
Amen.
I hope somebody's writing a book about it.
And everybody's missing this whole amazing journey by all this infighting bullshit. So don't pay attention to that, everybody. All right, Nick, the Sovereign, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rubber Duck your question. But real quickly, Duck, how you doing on time?
I'm fine. I just texted my wife. Hold on. What time do I got? Oh shit, she's not getting out till 6. We're good. We're good. I mean,
Okay.
hold on. My battery is at 14%, so I've only used 2% the whole time.
All right, so we got a couple more questions, and then I've got Alpha coming on here. I think he's coming on at 2:30 my time. So let's see. Go ahead, Nick. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nick the Sovereign. Your mic is unmuted. All right, Miss Sherry Justice, go ahead.
Did I have my mic up? I mean, did I have my hand raised?
You did, and I unmuted your mic.
Goodness gracious, I wasn't supposed to have my hand up. But anyway, I'll just say nice to meet you, Rubber Duck. Can you believe that I used to be a part of a convoy and driving a diesel truck across the states? Now, I know that sounds crazy, but you don't know me, so you won't be able to guess it. But I'm going to let you try one guess to see what my handle was on the CB.
What color hair do you have?
Blonde.
Give me a second.
Where's your picture
Where are
at,
you
Sherry? You
from?
got a sunflower.
I took my pictures down because the RV people said, get your pictures down and get your name off, or they'll be coming after you. So I got rid of everything.
You tell them that come see the Rubber Duck if they come after you, sweetheart. You got nothing to worry. You punch that down on the ground.
What was my handle, Rubber Duck?
I don't know, honey, but I'd love to hear it.
Fruit Loops. Now, isn't that one? That was it.
Oh, listen, where are you from, honey? What part of the world?
Alabama. I'm from
Alabama.
Alabama.
Roll
Yes.
Tide.
Roll Tide. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sweetheart. God bless you. Where we go one, we go all.
Yes,
Sherry's
sir.
a hoot. You would love her, Rubber Duck. You have to come in. Yeah, she's awesome. Thank you, Sherry, for being here. You're so sweet. You just crack me up. All right, Miss Grace, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hey there. Hey, Jenny. Thanks for unmuting me. And
Of
Rubber
course.
Duck, hi there. I follow you on X, so so great to talk to you. I've
Hi,
never gotten
Gracie.
to meet
How
you.
you doing?
Hi, I'm great. I'm driving with my boy, so we're headed from our home in Tennessee to our home in Georgia. Um, but I have a quick question. So I've really followed how a lot of our government, our congressmen and women have dual citizenship with Israel, and how mainly, the normal people in the world, especially here in America, have no clue about that. And I want to know your take on, when we're on the other side of this, is all of that, is that going to be done? And are people going to find out how Israel's really not what people think, and how the Mossad has really controlled a lot of, even like, America and the CIA, how we've been their puppet? Do you think that kind of stuff is really going to be told and said out loud for people to realize? I just wanted your take on that. Thank you so much again, and God bless you.
Well, thank you for that, and God bless you too, Grace. The short answer is yes, absolutely, because it has to. Because nothing changes unless the world finds out about the influence of that piece of land, on the rest of the world. I still think there's a lot to it,
that we don't know yet either. I don't think it's just the religion aspect. I think that there's, don't forget that there's a lot of tunnels under there. There's a lot of child trafficking under there. All of these, like, this big earthquake that we had in Myanmar, Burma. I put a post on my X account about that. There's a connection between that, North Korea, and underground tunnels and trafficking right there where that happened today. And all of this kind of stuff has been happening all over the world, and that includes Gaza, because there was a lot that happened, underneath. And I don't think that we've been given the straight story. I don't think the TV has reported anything accurately about what's been really happening over in Ukraine and Israel, for that matter. How much of what we've seen reported as actual war footage, I believe to be fake. I've had people on the ground in both parts, both wars, quote unquote, and they say it's definitely not what the TV or internet, for that matter, has been reporting. And that's when people kind of lose sight that this whole thing is a sting operation. Yes, it is, but the reason for it is for what they've done to the children over the years, and that is what had to stop. And it's not just a tagline, save the children. It goes into the reason why they did it, the whole ideology. And yeah, that's going to have to come out. And it's been coming out now for some time. You see some of the truth coming out through the music industry with all the satanic bullshit. You do see things coming out on the television, but right now it seems to me that the TV is still covering. In other words, they're not ready. Q always said that they saved Israel for last and that they would never discuss Israel again in the Q drops. They only brought it up once, and they did it for a very specific reason. And they never told us what that reason was. They just said Israel will be saved for last. So that what that tells me is that this whole war that they're telling us that is happening currently, presently throughout the world, all these wars and everything. I believe that this world war, this global war, was already fought and already won. And I believe that happened in part during the lockdowns. I also believe it happened strategically in different parts of the world between the time that Trump was first announced that he was going to be president through his first term. And I believe it was a hot war. And I believe that that war was fought mostly underground. And I also believe that it was most of the wars, and I believe that most of the battles were fought under the guise of exercises, military exercises. So I believe that over the past 10 years, when we've heard our military, all branches of our military announcing that they were conducting exercises here and there for this and that, I believe that that was cover for real ops. And you say to yourself, well, they can't do that, Rubberduck, because that's illegal. No, because they're protected by what Obama did by repealing the Smith-Mundt Act, which means the military specifically could do whatever they want and say whatever they want to the American people through any broadcast device. So it made the perfect recipe for this script.
It's that subterranean warfare that we hear being talked about a lot by Derek Johnson and others. So that's
He's
what
spot
Rubberduck
on.
is talking
Between
about. Yep.
2014 and 2016, over $2.5
Yep.
billion were invested in all four branches, including the Space Force of our military, for subterranean combat underneath. And now we're finding out that there's tunnels that lead underneath to these huge chambers. We've been listening to Gene Decode talk about DUMBs for how many years now, And Gene was a
Yep.
very high, very, very high up as far as, his level of clearance, because he was a submarine captain or submarine chief.
Yep.
So all this stuff, and plus field, you listen to some of these people that have put their names out there, their reputation out there, and they've lost everything, and they're still consistent to the letter. These are the people that you need to listen to, or at least hear them out and research
Amen.
because it's out there. But the short answer is yes, because people have to understand what the word Israel means, because part of it comes from the Bible, and the other part of it pertains to the piece of land that makes the state of Israel, which was created and approved by Great Britain, when they sold that piece of land to the Rothschild family, and they created, they created it with borders. You know what I mean? So, do the Palestinians have a say in this? You're damn right they do. But then on the other hand, what do you do about the people that were born in this little piece of land that was given to them in, some say, a corrupt way. I think so, because that's more of like an occupier. So then you have this little land the size of New Jersey surrounded by the entire Middle East, and all they want to do is kill these people because they're the only white people in the land, and they're not even supposed to be there. So part of me understands what Trump said when he was talking about taking all those people in Gaza and just getting them the hell out of there altogether. Because they're not, it might be their homeland, but you still want to have a life. You don't want to get shot and killed with your children raped and savaged. You know what I mean? So
Amen.
I believe all that shit is being dug up literally and figuratively. And I do think that people are, because, the lease on that land is over. Just like, the royal family and stuff. I mean, we're still seeing them. Well, now they're probably going to close out his script, the king, because he's in the same thing with the Pope. So everyone has a script, and the scripts for them are going to end, whether it's going to be, in death, or, whether it's going to be they off themselves or died of cancer, whatever. And at some point, we will be told the truth of why Israel was created, who created it, and how they spread their influence first to the United States, because they really wanted to make us their greater Israel. You know what I mean? In other words, same thing that Israel does there, but in a very big way here as the world superpower. And we were raised up to be that, so that we could defend their ideals, which were satanic. So
That was no short answer.
Yeah, holy shit. So back to the short answer,
Great,
yes.
though. No, thank you so much, Rubberduck. And thank you, Jenny, for bringing him on. Thank you, Jenny, for all that you do and all the people you bring on. I love to learn. I always tell my children that knowledge is power. And my oldest is 16. He's actually here in the car with me. And we talk about these things because I want him to understand that we have a better world we're going to live in than the lie we have I've lived in my whole life, but that he's part of, but his world's going to be so different. And Jenny, we listen to you together, and I really appreciate this opportunity, Rubberduck, to hear that long explanation. People need to hear it. I learn something new every time I ask these questions, and I love to learn. So thank you so much for the time. And Jenny, thank you again for all that you do to bring people to us. God
Oh,
bless you so much.
thank you,
Amen. Hit me
Grace.
up anytime, Grace, on X too, if you want. I answer, I reply anytime.
Thank you. I will. I will actually DM you. I have another one about the Noahide laws, but I won't ask it here. I'll ask you on X. That's a big one I have. Thank you.
Well,
Jenny,
and
I know you have Alpha coming up now, don't you? I didn't know I was opening for Alpha, Jenny. Fucking guy's
Oh,
gonna
you
use that
crack
against
me
me
up.
now. Oh, you
Um,
boy.
no, he's on
I'm
at
kidding.
2:30 my time.
No,
So
I'm kidding. I love Alpha.
no, you're good. And Grace, Rubberduck's gonna be more of a regular on here. He's gonna be a great addition to this show.
Yeah, this was
So
fun. I'll
he's
come
very
back on.
well loved.
If you have more people that want to listen to me
So
rant, I'll be happy to come back.
yeah,
Thank
well we got a few more questions here for you, real quick, Rubberduck, before I let you go. Let's see. Coach Deb, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hey, I was waiting for my turn. My husband said, "What are you doing?"
Hi.
I'm waiting for my turn.
Hey,
Jenny, are
Coach
you all
Deb.
moved yet?
No, not yet. I'm in the middle of packing. My
Oh my
actual move
gosh.
date is on the 11th, so I'm
Oh
in
my gosh.
transition.
Well, I love this guy. I've never heard Rubber Duck before. Hey,
Hey now.
I am like blown away as your stream of consciousness, like how you go from one topic to the next. I'm like, holy cow, this guy knows his stuff. So anyway,
No,
my
I
I
knew
I
you
question
don't
guys
is,
would
speak
love
in a
him.
straight
oh my
line.
God. Oh my God. No, I'm following you. I'm following you. I'm like, but I was partially awake during Obama when he was running for, for election, when I saw him go to Germany and he said, citizens of the world. And I thought, oh my God, the guy's the Antichrist. And of course, my secretary thought I was a racist. So I had to politically correctly find a way for her to leave my office and never come back. But we were stocking up on guns and frozen, freeze-dried foods, because I knew this guy was evil, and I didn't know how to tell people because they would think I was a racist. So, but my real
What was
question
the
is,
other what was the other term, Coach, that they used to throw out there? They used to say we're spreading democracy.
oh,
Wow, can you believe it?
oh
What
no,
that
and we
really
never
means
in our
now?
whole
We are
area, we never
spreading
saw
democracy. That's really what it
we
meant.
never saw Obama signs anywhere. My girlfriends throughout the country would say, we don't see Obama signs. How does he get reelected? Oh, he was selected. We didn't know that. Oh my gosh. So here's my question, and it's not that something that we have, you might not even know, but when they come out with the truth about the children, if and when they do this, however they choose to do it, are they going to tell the truth? I mean, the people are just going to be like, I was devastated that this was happening, especially the adrenochrome thing. Is this going to, how is this going to leak out? Or are they going to put it
How
in a
much of it,
documentary?
like how much of it, like well,
Yeah.
you and I, like people like you and me and Jenny.
Hey, Rubber Duck, get
Oh
your.
wait, I'm sorry, it fell. I was having a sip of coffee. Sorry. We got
You're
to fix.
killing
We
me,
got to fix
Jones.
it. Yes, killing me softly. But no, now I forgot the damn question.
No,
Oh
the
yes,
like,
how are they
yeah.
going to roll it out? Okay,
Yes.
now I have my own theory, but
Okay.
again, what trumps my theory is, Q always said, there's, people are going to have to find out on their own. Just
Mm.
like you did. You know what I mean? You were a certain amount of awake when
Mm-hmm.
things kind of caught on over the last 10 years for you. I suspect other folks were. You had to have smelled a rat during the Obama
Oh,
because it did
sure.
get really bad. So I would wager maybe even some regular Democrats maybe smelt a rat. I don't know, but I would suspect yes. That being said, um, nobody ever really talked about in a mainstream way what happened to the children. Now, fast forward. Well, before we go fast forward, go back a little bit. Think about
Mm.
before the past 10 years. You
Mm-hmm.
would never, ever think about talking, let alone bringing up the word pedophilia or pedophile. It's
No.
just one of those
Mm-mm.
things. Like when I was in high school, they changed in the late 80s, they changed the age from 17 to 18. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do anything in high school. It was like boom, 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 and then I got married. You know what I mean? So I was one of those late bloomers, and a lot of us were, because we didn't want to be called that word because it was really, really bad. So now you fast forward and you think about all the things that we've been shown. Certainly coming out of Hollywood, certainly coming out of the music industry. So you could see all of how they've sexualized the children. So
Mm-hmm.
they've kind of set the stage. Remember, the only the only mission we really had, myself, you, Jenny, those of us that are just, aggregating information, trying to wake people up and serve red pills and stuff. Our job is to get them just to the point where they won't lose their mind when they
Okay.
get to the deep stuff. You know what I mean? Now,
Yeah.
10 years ago, 12 years ago, if they start putting Epstein Island on TV, which, if you remember, they did back then, but nobody believed it.
Right.
Epstein got in trouble in '29. Nobody said anything.
Right.
The whole Pizzagate thing was on TV. Anthony Weiner, people, that whole thing was on TV. Nobody said anything. No, we did, back then. But who the hell was? So now we have Q. We have the Q team. So yes, they think
Mm-hmm.
we're a bunch of insert your name, but whether they like it or not, we woke up the world. We made it casual to wake up. We made it, like a little bit of a click thing to be awake. We made it smart to be awake because I'm no idiot. You know what I mean? So I'm not crazy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's way more of us than there are these lunatics that are up there serving black pills. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but I do know that when you first see crimes against children broadcast on the television, and in association with that, all the other flat black screens, it'll be global, it'll be worldwide, and it'll be done
Mm-hmm.
in a way where it cannot be debated and it cannot be argued with, because only then will both sides, because remember, we're all divided, not just here in the country, I would suppose many places around the world where you have societies, everybody's divided. But the one thing that you can't be divided about is when you mess with children. And yes,
Yeah.
people have heard us all talking, singing the song, Save the Children, doing the hashtag. We've been doing it for years. And part of me thinks that, and I'm sure you'll agree, there's this large group of people that say, oh, the whole children thing, that's a psyop. They don't know what they're talking about. Meanwhile, they don't know any of the stuff we know. They've never seen those pictures of Epstein Island. They never watched those
Right.
drone videos of Epstein Island. They didn't spend friggin' hours of watching live stream footage of all this shit. We have. We did the work. So they part of me thinks that they listen to us, but the other part of me thinks yes, they listen, but they feel safe that they don't have to say or do or deal with it because it's just us saying it. Well,
Mm.
when it's put together and broadcast on the television, and it's targeting all of the people that we didn't wake up. And you know, Hollywood knows how to target these people because that's what they do. It'll be done in such a way where they, sadly, in a very short period of time, without much time to deal with it, they're going to be brought up to our level, and
Wow.
they're going to wish they have some of us in their family. They're going to wish they, that they didn't, treat us the way they treated us years ago when we first started doing this. But my job will be to be here for each and every one of those people that lose it or feel like they're going to lose it, to kind of help guide them through it. Because if there's an equal amount of us out there to support the equal amount of them that are going to lose it, lose their shit, because you think about, we've had an arc. Some have had 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 8 years. Some of us have had 10 years or longer to wake up to this. It's been gradual. Yes, we lost our minds a year ago. We cried in our pillow. We had our panic and anxiety. We couldn't deal with it because we learned everything was a lie. But these people, like, they hear us say it, but it's okay to hear it. To listen, absorb, consume, and verify, that's a whole other thing. And the TV's about to do it for them.
Hmm. Is it true that Elon's buying one of the main stations, TV stations? I don't think I saw
I
that
hope he
recently.
does, because unless the quote unquote white hats, whoever they are, take control of the signal, which I believe they already have, and I believe they've been broadcasting this movie to us, this awakening movie. I do think that either Trump or Elon or maybe Bezos, one of the. Don't forget, Bezos owns a big newspaper media outlet, and if he turns good, you know what I mean? Like, even though he may have been switched out or whatever with the
Hmm.
masks and the clones, whatever, I get it. But if that character turns to the good, you have a whole broadcast stream of potential truth.
Yep.
And
Yep.
listen, once we're all getting truth told to us instead of like 100% lies, then we can all go on with our lives and do whatever it is we have to do to support our family and love our lives and live it. But we're far away from that yet. And I sadly, I believe we have some sorrows that we have to go through, because people are going to have to know what really happened during COVID. They're going to have to learn what really happened on 9/11. They're going to have to learn, this whole JFK thing.
Hmm.
That was, to me, it was a nothing burger, because it wasn't anything that we didn't, already know. But, now you hear normal people talking about Israel. You have normal people talking about the CIA. My son came to me and mentioned Mossad. I never taught him about that yet. You know what I mean? They're in their 20s, but I just never heard them talk about it. So that tells me that out there in the Twitterverse, the TikTokverse, people are talking about it. So, and I think it'll be the TV's job and responsibility of the broadcast to bring everybody up to speed, whether it's going to be an EBS, whether they shut it down, whether we have some parts of the country are without signal for a period of time. If they attack the grid, whatever this black swan precipice event that a lot of people are waiting for. I don't know that it'll be a global event. Because the lockdowns during COVID were really most severe in the people that lived in the Democratic run places. I didn't notice the lockdowns that much down here in South Florida, because DeSantis didn't do it to us that much, other than the first week or two. So I think it'll be that way, but all over the place. I hope that answers your question a little
Yes.
bit.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach Deb. Okay, Miss Patty, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Well, hello there. Heard a ton about you, Mr. Rubber Duck, from my dear friend, Miss Jenny, which I'm a huge fan and supporter of. So it's great to have you on Telegram, being I am older and I just don't do X. And yeah, I probably would get in the mix of stuff over there, and it probably wouldn't be good. And I'm a huge fan of Abel Danger. Been following Phil McConnell forever. So I'm a big fan. And I was going to kind of ask some things that Coach Deb just asked. So you answered most of those. So on a different note, you said that you came from Jersey, obviously down 95 to my state that I was born and raised, a native Floridian. And I just thought, well, while I have him and introduce myself, I'll just ask him how he made his way down to Lake Worth down there near South Ocean Boulevard and Wellington and Lake Okeechobee and Belle Glade. So is
Actually,
that
I'm down here. I'm right near Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach, which is like South Delray. And
gotcha?
Yep, and I rent a nice little villa here. I've done the whole homeowners thing. You know what I mean? I was one of those 13 families that were caught up in the whole Bank of America countrywide home loan scandal in 2010, 2011, with the whole housing crisis. I was one of we were one of the 13. Yes, coincidentally, it was 13 families, but we were all represented up in Tallahassee by Pam Bondi back at that time, and she was a firecracker back then too, and she actually helped all of us. And I also had Peter Tickton, who was Trump's lawyer for his personal case earlier on down here. He actually helped represent us too to try to save our house because we had, back then people were just stealing liens and they were stealing titles and just like selling them, to third-party companies, and that essentially was the beginning of the housing crisis. So that was one of my first bad experiences coming down here. But the whole reason why I came down here, I told the long form story early on. But we basically, one of many people that fled down here after September 11th, having lived up in the Fort Lee area, working in downtown New York City that day, around that time. So we lost, friends, we lost clients, we lost business. So there was really no need for us to be up there. So my family, my wife's family, the companies we worked for, we all picked up and came down to Florida the end of 2001 and the beginning of 2002. So that's what led me down here. There's a
Well, it
lot
sounds
more
like
to
you
my
like
story,
it.
but that's a little bit of it. Yeah, I love it, man. I do miss the seasons a little bit up north, but as far as what I left behind, I would have never been able to do what I've done up to this point, at least over the past 10 years with this mission that we've been on, had I stayed up there, because my path was different, But 9/11 changed that for a lot of people, For a lot of other people, it was COVID. COVID changed everything for them. And for still others, it was 2020, the election. So whatever is your thing that brings us here together, I'm just happy we're all on the same page, at least right now.
Well, thank you for that. Mine probably was President Kennedy. Um, I was 7 years old. That affected my whole life, that whole tragic event for me. But yeah, I'm so glad to hear that you like it. Yes, I'm very familiar with Delray. I have a son in South Florida. And it sounds like in the background, do you have some of those green parrots that are floating around up there
I
that
have,
cat?
actually, I have 10 quails. I have an incubator filled with 35 quail eggs. That's what I do. I love raising quails. And I have a cockatiel. I have a bunch of parakeets. I have two canaries, some doves, and I have some finches that have just had babies. So yeah, I'm busy. And I'm doing this all from my Florida room. I converted my Florida room into an aviary.
Oh, that's awesome. So, but is there any green parrots in the background that got through that hurricane that we had down? I remember having to flee from the Keys, being down there lobstering, and we had to go, and that atrium went, and green parrots went everywhere. They're all over South Florida. So I didn't know if you had
They're
any in
all
the
in
background.
southern Palm Beach County. Actually they occupied a lot of the areas where they say they brought in a lot of those green lizards. What the hell do they call them down here? There's too many of them. The iguanas. Down here they've actually given people. DeSantis gave people a license to kill them because they brought so many of those iguanas here from other parts of the world that they're killing a lot of the local wildlife here. I myself could never willfully kill an animal, so I don't take part in that. But they certainly do it down here.
Well, I have
Hey,
to
I
tell
got.
you, Rubber Duck, just real quick. Let
Sure.
me just tell him this real quick, Jenny. I have a 10-year-old grandson that loves to tackle them. So he arm wrestles with them all the time. So he loves to
I'll
grab
give
them.
them a list.
Nice to
Thanks,
meet
Patty.
you.
God bless you, honey. Be well.
All right, Rubberduck, I got two more hands. All right, Miss Cal, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted, and then after Cal, Jamboree, you can go ahead and go. Well, go ahead, Jamboree, and you just open up your mic. Go ahead.
I'm at 8%. So wait a minute. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unplug this earphone. I'm going to plug the charger in. So hold on 1 second. Boop. All right.
You're
Okay.
fired.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Golly, I hate this. Hold on. Hold on.
Can you not hear us?
I can hear you, Jenny.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I'm going to put
Jenny,
the
this is
earphones back
Jenny.
on.
Can you hear us, Rubberduck? Go ahead, Jamboree. What were
All right,
you?
go
Did you
ahead,
have
honey.
a?
I'm here now. I can hear you.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Go ahead,
Great.
Jamboree.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Jeannie, for having me on and for having Rubberduck on.
Hey,
He is like
Jamboree.
amazing. I totally love how he articulates all of these questions and answers, and it's like amazing. I DM'd you, Mr. Duck.
You can call me Mike.
I okay. And Jeannie, I tried to DM you as well, but I was only able to put a comment down in your one of the things that you had, one of the
Okay.
topics you had.
Okay.
If I would like to speak with the two of you, please, because I'm having a situation and I am finding no. I need guidance.
Okay. We'll reach out to you for sure.
Yeah, great. And you can just press on the phone icon. Yeah, so we can speak, please. Mr. Doug, thank you so much for being here, sir. I
I'm
have been
happy to be
watching.
here.
Thank you, sir. I have been watching the Spain royal family. I've been watching them, I believe, since like I want to say 2018, on and off. And every time that the Princess Leonor speaks in public or to whatever, she always mentions the principalities. She says, "Hello, principalities. Hello, this. Hello, the queen. Hello, the people." But the principalities is first. And it came out recently that the king of Morocco does not want to give the king of Spain any kind of anything because he's a homosexual, and those two daughters are not his. Infanta, what's her name? Sofia, that's the small one. And it came to my attention that I'm like, well, we some of the old folks know when the girls are virgins just by the looking at how they walk. And these two girls walk like that. What say you, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Walks like a duck and talks like a duck. It's a duck.
No, what I was trying to ask, what they don't have any future now. See, because she's supposed to be like the next heir to the throne in Spain, and they don't have any future. They're not legit. That's what I'm saying. And please communicate with me, Jeannie and Doug, Mike. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamboree. All right, Miss Cal, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi. I've been listening to you on X since I follow Jenny and I follow her over to those spaces. And I have a terrible time with trying to get my mic open and then get it shut off on X. So there's been many times I've wanted to ask you a question. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you, you have children in their 20s. Are they on board with you and what you teach and what you know, or are they not because of their age?
Not as much as I am, of course, but um, well, my one son is he was born. Their both birthdays are coming up too, same week. For April of '98 and April 2000. So whatever. So what are they? 25. They're gonna be 25 and 27 this year, and they still live with me. You know, because we operate our family like old fashioned, old school. You know, they all have their jobs, but we all live in one nice big villa, and they have their life, I have mine, and that's how we do it old school. And they they know what I know, but they didn't do the research on their own. So because I'm their dad, I had the benefit of that given trust. But they know how to research because I've taught them, and they do. Like I get like text little. I get like when they hear something for the first time, like with the king going to the hospital. My older son, hey dad, did you hear about this? Or when Trump says something and they hear it. Because they don't do what I do. They're both personal trainers down here. And my one younger son, he's a type 1 diabetic. He's also like a young amateur
MMA fighter. He goes into these cages and they beat the shit out of each other. It's stupid. I hate it. His mother dies, but that's what they do. So they have their own life, right? But when it comes to how awake they are, the only thing I've taught them to do is to question everything, don't believe anything hands down, and let it affect your life or let it in your life, unless you understand it yourself. So if so that's what I've taught them. They know all about the TV, the lies. They know about the big generational stuff. As far as the Q, they know I have an account on X. They know who the Rubberduck is and stuff because they hear me. Like I said, I'm back here on my porch, but they don't get too involved with it. Just as any kid in their 20s, you know what I mean. So the short answer, right, Jenny? The short answer is yes. They're awake, but they're not like me. There ain't no Rubberduck. It's just me. For good or for bad.
Well, thank you. And it's certainly a benefit for all of us that follow Jenny to have you come on here now because I really enjoy listening to you. You're down to earth, you're straightforward, and I love that in a person. And you don't pull any punches, just like
And if you
Jenny.
notice, when groups of people like us get together, it's not an echo chamber. It's just a bunch of normal people talking. That's one thing I don't understand when people say, well, if you get into a space or a room and you have like 1,000 people in there and they're all talking the same thing, that's an echo chamber. And I'm like, wait a minute. I used to have house parties in the 80s with like a couple of hundred people coming to my house, and we were all kind of talking about the same thing. Was that a fucking echo chamber, or was I just surrounded by normal people? Sorry, guys. I felt for a minute I was in a space defending myself. But no, I get you. I get you, right? Jenny saw me starting to spin off a little. But I get you. You're right, and I get it. And as you can see, I still feel it too. I'm Sicilian. I got a little cracker West Virginia in me, so I got, and those, and I'm very passionate like all of you guys are. But, yeah, I get it. And it's worth defending.
Well, my husband was raised in Connecticut. He was raised around nothing but Italians. When I first met him, my mother argued with me. She told me he was Italian. I said he wasn't. But you remind me so much of him because that's how he walked when he was on this earth.
And I walk like I talk, believe it or not. And I think you know what that means.
Well, it's been my joy to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been my honor. If you're over on X over there, hit me up anytime. And Jenny, I do spaces with her sometimes too. And more than happy and honored to chat and bullshit with people.
Yeah,
I love
follow
people that
you.
not think like me. I just like people that can think for themselves.
I follow you, and I do. And I wanted to ask a question the other night, but every time I opened up my mic, then I shut it off. I was so messed up on that X, I finally gave up. But I will. I'll get it right. But thank you so much.
God
Thank
bless.
you, Cal. And Rubberduck, this was a success, my friend. You are loved over here.
We did good. Oh, that's great. I'm so happy.
We did great. So everybody, Rubberduck he will be a reoccurring guest here on the Revival of America podcast here, and over on the it is 5:00 somewhere with the Revival of America, where you, the audience, gets to know myself and one of my guests on a more personal level. That will be probably video over on my Rumble page because we are bringing the video to the podcast, and that we're going to do that like once a month, see how that goes. Bring a guest in once a month, and actually, I would like Rubberduck to be my co-host on that one. And but
I'll bring my bagpipes.
Oh, you kill me, Duck. I want you to take us out with your little duck sound, and then everybody come over and hang with us on my X space with Alpha Warrior. Everybody, he will be on at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. And Duck, are you going to be over there?
Sure.
I'll make you a co-host.
Remember, when the tides of life start to rock your boat, don't sit there and worry about it. Just lay on your back and float.
Amen. I love you, Rubberduck. We'll see you guys over on X in about 35 minutes. And bring your questions.
You all and your families.
Great job,
Thank
Rubberduck.
you.
Love you. Talk to you soon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.